Hi, I thought I would go over the things I sent off the trail to my nephew Peter, who lives out in California. I, being a Canadian, could have sent it back here to Canada, but then I'd have to deal with possibly the problem of customs would come into it, and maybe some kind of duty. You never know, crossing the border. Plus, if I wanted it back, it would have probably taken way too long, because I'd have to go through customs again on the American side, and there's no telling how long it would be backed up. So thankfully I had someone in the States that I could mail things off to in the, if it fits, type of USPS boxes. So I guess the one thing that I sent back that I knew I wanted to get back later in the trail were the cold weather items. So for example, my down jacket, my hat, my gloves, the underquilt that I originally had for my hammock that I was using to double up with my quilt for the colder weather, and I think that was about it. So yeah, I didn't want to lose that, and I sent them back to him when I got to, I think it was Damascus. No, it must have been later than that. I can't remember even when I sent it off to. Anyway, and then I got it back right before I got to the Whites, I think, in not Bangor or Dartmouth College. So anyway, here are the items that in the first shipment were sent off, because the trail runner, ridge runner, who went through all my gear, told me, you don't need this, you don't need this, you don't need this. And I think for about 95% of it, I did send it away. And frankly, more or less, I didn't have a problem completing the trail. There might have been a couple items that might have been nice to have, but you've got to carry that weight. And I didn't want to, because my pack at that point was just about 40, or just over 40 pounds with food and water, and I needed to get it knocked down. So anyway, here are the items that I sent back. First of all, this AliExpress sit pad. The reason I sent that back is that it's kind of crappy. It compressed under my weight way too easy and stayed compressed. Not that I was, that heavy in the beginning, but very low quality. And I ended up at the Gap buying a Z-Pack sit light pad, I think it's called, and which I could tell was much better quality and aluminized on one side, which probably helped. And I used that a lot through the trail. So don't waste your money on this thing. It's not worth the trouble. The next thing I sent back was my AT guide for Northbound 2019. This is that one item that I kind of wish I'd kept, because I kept borrowing other people's, or at hostels that had it, I would take it and use it. Because compared to working with the Guthook app, this was a lot easier, because you just flip the page over, you could see stuff and flip back and forth, and you could read things. And frankly, the AT guide does have stuff on the towns that the Guthook doesn't have, nice little maps and things like that. I mean, they're almost the same, but something about having this paper just made it easier. Now, it might be because I'm older, I don't know, but a lot of people had just that portion that they would need for that quarter of the trip or that half of the trip. And that's another thing. I didn't want to rip it up in half. I kind of wanted the keepsake. But now I've got a pristine keepsake with nothing written in it, no notes, no markers about where I was or anything like that. So, and it kind of failed in that way. So this is something you probably want to get, frankly, and you want to take with you, but it is kind of, it's probably half a pound. So I would cut it in half and take just the half that you need, or the quarter you need, or third, whatever proportion, and take it with you. This foldable umbrella. Now, I had the idea that from previous hikes I've done, I've taken an umbrella, and it's nice to have so that you don't have, the rain falling down around your head with a brim on a cap and a hood on and that type of stuff. And it wasn't a problem walking with a pack on with it, and I could even get into the sternum strap and have it like that. I saw other people that had it, but this is not an ultralight item. This is the regular thing that you go buy at Walmart or wherever, and it is heavy for an umbrella, and I'm glad I sent it away. I saw a few people that had umbrellas, but they were always the ultralight type, which is a lot more expensive. But lighter to carry. And again, if you don't use an umbrella already when you go backpacking, don't bother with it. Here's a piece of cold weather gear, beanie. I think I found this in a hiker box. I can't remember where I got it. Maybe I was given it from my friend Sybil and Paul. I'm not sure. I should ask them. I should give it back. But I had the down hat, and it did what I wanted to at nighttime when I'm sleeping, with my head sticking out from my quilt. I found I didn't need a hat while I'm walking, and I had my trucker's cap anyway, so it wasn't really of no use. Now the next thing I sent back, this was cold weather gear, my merino wool bottoms and tops. But I wish I knew what brand this was, because it is not very good. What's it called? Minus 33 is the brand. And it feels nice. It's a little bit heavy, frankly. But man, I must have those bugs in your box or something like that eat it, because you can see the holes in this thing. And even before, this is just from the trip, because I don't remember this being like this when I sent it off, in the pants and in the back of the shirt or top. I did mend it because just having the pack on just seemed to be too much abrasion for it. But it's nice to have if you're going to go skiing, or if you don't have to carry it. But for the AT, it was nice to put on. I think the one time I used it after a rainy day, but not worth it, especially for the weight. I mean, this is pretty substantial for what it is. Oh, here's another piece of merino wool. Is it take a zip top, no hood, and this was going to be my warmth layer. Now, in the end, I just kept the pullover top I had that had a zip on the top, and my raincoat and down jacket, which is all the warmth I need even on the coldest days. Again, it's not as heavy as that other merino wool stuff, but it was overkill. The clothing is something I had way too much of, and you'll probably have it too. Now, I had two pairs of shorts. This was one of them. So this one went away. I never took it back, and frankly, one pair is all you're going to need. If they rip, duct tape and pick up a new pair when you get into a town, or maybe you can find something in Harker Bots or Loner Clothes and just walk away with it. These nice expensive waterproof socks. Frankly, they're a little heavy just for socks. And again, I needed to lose weight, and just holding it doesn't feel that heavy. And when it's on your feet, probably wouldn't even notice it. But I had too many clothes, and the weight was just killing me, and I didn't need this. I had Gore-Tex boots from the beginning, and they were fine for keeping my feet dry. When I went to the oboes later, they're not waterproof, and you tended to avoid any puddle you could, but every now and then you had to step in it, and they dried quick enough anyway. I mean, I never had a really problem with Gore-Tex boots getting wet and then drying out. But waterproof socks, I mean, these are like brand new. I may never have even worn them on the trail, so not worth it. I can't remember, I paid $35, $45 for these. I don't know when or if I'll ever need them. Christmas time, maybe I'll give them away. Hang on to those. I picked up a couple souvenirs along the way. This one was at the Devil's Backbone. I got two shirts. They were given away in boxes for people. Typically it was a problem finding the size you needed. This is a medium. It might fit me now after losing all that weight, but these are things I did not want to have to carry, and they're cotton, and cotton kills, as they say. So again, shipped off, never wanted them back. Okay, I got a smaller box to slip in it. These are a lot of little things that I took out of my divvy bag, and it's a little substantial. There are a few clips I was going to use to hang things on a clothesline. Didn't need it. I have a little pocket knife here, and it's steel, and it's heavy, and I'm glad I didn't take it. I had multiple pens. I got rid of one of them, and there's this little thing here, if you can see it. It's up there. It is a device for taking two canisters, putting one on top of the other, opening it up, and the liquid in the top one would flow into the bottom one. So I would never have to buy gas again. But it's not very expensive, and I didn't use a whole lot. I think I used the full tank, small tank, lasted me a month in the beginning. I think I bought another one, and that went a while, not probably as long for some reason. I found cans in hiker boxes from that point on, and I don't think I ever bought one from that point on. And so the first couple months, the next 4 months, I just took what I found, and I ran out 2 days before the end of the trip, so it worked out pretty good. Oh, steaks. Now, these were for my hammock tarp. Not that they're heavy, but that's the big thing here. I'll pull it out. I started with a hammock in the beginning. Here's the hammock in its bag with the lashing hanging at both ends. I had a problem with heavy wind in the beginning, and at one point I couldn't even hang the tarp. And I decided my inexperience with the hammock was too big a deal, and went back to the ground. So I ended up buying a tent with Rufus, who I was walking with at the time. The MSR Carbon Reflex 2-man. Very expensive but very light tent. I mean, it's just barely a little bit heavier than this, and this isn't everything. This isn't even a tarp. So if you haven't done hammocking before you go on the AT, don't bring a hammock probably. It's iffy, and like I said, it was so windy, bad weather in the beginning, my tarp wasn't able to handle it. My tarp didn't have doors, which I think the tarp should. I took plenty of video and photos of other people's hammocks and tarps on the trail when I saw them. I saw a lot more of them in the beginning than I did later on, but there were always hammocks, just a few, and the people that had them loved them. And if I wasn't in the shelter all the time, I probably wish I would have had it. This is the tarp. It weighs about the same or a little bit more than the hammock itself. It's a 12-footer, and it is wrapped in a snake skin that I made for it. This is a sil nylon tarp. I made these straps in the beginning, but I ended up buying these straps from a guy whose name I can't remember on YouTube. These are Dyneema straps. I mean, I think 2 of these will be equal to 1 of these, and they came with this button knot soft shackle carabiner on it by default. And if I was going to go with the hammock, this would have been the way to go, just to save weight again. But didn't use the hammock, so it doesn't really matter in the end. And with my hammock, here's the bugnet. I didn't have an incorporated bugnet zipper into it. It stymied me too long before I got around to trying to put one on. So this is like the sock you pull right over the entire hammock. And even though it's just nothing but no seam, it's a good amount of weight and pretty bulky if you ask me. So imagine 3 of these type of things, even stacked on end, would be bigger than my tent. So for me, it was a bit of a failure. Here's another strap. A little deeper. Oh yeah, I got some little shackles and the cords that would be used to tie the tarp down. These were attached by little button knots and prusik loops. So that's why they're detached. It was a nice idea. Too bad. Another souvenir of a hanky. I think I got a couple of these. I think there's another one. And my inflatable pillow. I bought this on Amazon, on AliExpress. It's not too heavy, but I got it for the hammock to keep my head off the back side because my head would be sticking up beyond the underquilt and probably get cold. So if I kept the hammock, probably been worthwhile. But I used my clothing bag on the rest of the trip, and I was in a shelter a lot of the time, even in the tent. But the only time that was ever a problem is when it was really cold and I took out most of my clothing from the bag, and then I was just trying to find anything to stick in the bag to keep my head because I'm a side sleeper. And as I said, I had sent off my down jacket and my gloves and my down hat, which I got back later when I got to the weights. And other than that, that's it. And I think I paid probably $15 or $16 American on each shipment. And I think I sent off 4, maybe 3, but I think I sent off 4. Plus, when my nephew sent this back to me via USPS, because they had to go to Canada, there was the extra postage, and this one box, and it was about 10 pounds. So that's how much I lost in the weight that I didn't have to carry. This cost almost $100 Canadian to get back. So just as while I was shipping parcels off to Canada and getting things back, it was a lot cheaper to have the American address. So that was stuff I got rid of on the trail. Otherwise, I just didn't bother taking it, or it was so light and small that I kept it with me the entire rest of the trail from wherever I picked it up. Things like the little baseball card souvenir at Human Nature, which were really quite far in the north. Mostly I took photos and videos, and I guess that's it for this video. So I think the next one will be something along the line of things that worked and things that didn't work that I kept and took with me the entire trek. So until then, bye-bye.